So I am making this video in response to Ohio Senate Bill 260 and the reason why, and the reasons I should say, as to why I am against it. So reason number one, it violates several constitutional rights. It violates the Second Amendment right, and here's why. I have taken the luxury and have written down the Second Amendment, and will read it out word for word verbatim and then define it. And it states, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, a lot of times people look at the militia part and say, well, they're talking about the military. Well, that's great and dandy, but here's the thing that they don't notice. The right of the people, meaning the legal, law-abiding U.S. citizen, to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. So that means the legal, law-abiding citizen, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, meaning the law-abiding citizen should be able to purchase whichever firearms they wish. It violates your due process rights, because if this legislation passes and you own a firearm that has the capabilities of holding 10 or more rounds, you are automatically a felon within the 5th degree and have zero inclination of a way to defend yourself. And it also violates your 8th Amendment right. And here's why. The 8th Amendment right is to protect people from cruel and unusual punishment. So, it makes people into felons by possession of a firearm that they have gone through the legal steps to purchase, and for some of these people, the legal steps to carry it by labeling them as a felon in the 5th degree. The second point I would like to talk about or discuss is that it demonizes law-abiding gun owners. By putting a law-abiding gun owner who buys their ammunition and firearms through legal means on a registration within a database on the Bureau of Criminal Investigations. Do you know who else goes on registrations on the Bureau of Criminal Investigations? Criminals go on registrations. Another one that is most commonly referred to is sex offenders. So you'll be put within the same broad spectrum of sex offenders and be stereotyped as mass shooters or potential mass shooters because you have a firearm and ammunition. Thirdly, it is highly illogical. The reason why I say this is because there are two shootings I like to bring up. Now, I'm not bringing these shootings up in vain. I truly send my most sincerest condolences to the survivors, to the people who have lost their lives, and the families of the survivors and the people who have lost their lives in these shootings. And I truly hope that they live a long and happy life and succeed in everything that they do. However, the two shootings I would like to bring up is Parkland and the YouTube headquarters, because they both have one thing in common. Actually, they have two things in common. One being both of them used magazine capacities of 10 or less. So, Ohio Senate bill in those scenarios would have not stopped nor prevented those shootings. Two, those shootings were conducted on gun-free zones, meaning the only people who are allowed to carry firearms into a gun-free zone are people who are law enforcement or security. Anybody outside of that is carrying a firearm and caught carrying a firearm onto those properties will be deemed a felon. And all gun-free zones just manage to do is allow a criminal to know who is armed and who is not armed. And then the other point of discussion I would like to bring up is that Governor Kasich, Senator Skindell, and Senator Gardner do not care about the illegal U.S. law-abiding citizens within the state of Ohio, because they are willing to violate and infringe upon the Second Amendment right, the rights of due process, and the Eighth Amendment right, but then turn around and make exemptions. The one exemption being the only people allowed to carry these types of weapons are law enforcement. Now, the people who are in favor for this bill, a vast majority of them, have never purchased a firearm, never shot a firearm, and have a private security detail consisting of law enforcement practically everywhere they go. Now, the exemption is only when law enforcement officials are on duty. Now, I hope that they know this, but they probably don't. But the law enforcement that provide the security detail used for these politicians, a vast majority of them are off duty, meaning they are volunteering their time. The reason why I say this is because most agencies, from city all the way up to federal, they don't like paying overtime. So the one way that they can legally escape that is saying volunteer hours. So these politicians who have never purchased a firearm before, never shot a firearm before, and have a private security detail everywhere they go, want to turn around and tell the law-abiding citizens, we the people, how we should and should not be able to defend ourselves. And another point of discussion I would like to bring up that further proves that Governor Kasich does not care for the law-abiding citizens is that after he tried to push this bill, Senate Bill 260, he is currently trying to pass another bill that allows an illegal immigrant a work pass. Now, do not get me wrong. I am all for people who want to work. If you come into this country and want a job, good on you. However, you can enter this country on a work visa, or you can enlist in the United States Armed Forces. And at the end of your basic training, you will be sworn in as a service member and then sworn in as a United States citizen. However, though, that being said, you can't grant special privileges to people who are in this country illegally. Here's why. The current unemployment rate for Ohio, at least of 2017, is 4.7%. So that means, I'm going to ballpark and round it up, at least 5 out of 10 people within the state of Ohio are currently unemployed. And we're currently focusing on illegal immigrants. Now, I know this topic of discussion is a little bit far from Senate Bill 260, but it further proves my point that Governor Kasich does not care about the law-abiding citizen within the state of Ohio, because he's willing to push the legal law-abiding citizen off to the side and grant special privileges to illegal, or commonly known as undocumented immigrants, meaning people who came into the country through illegal means. Now, I may revert back to other points of discussion throughout this video, And one point I would like to revert back to is how illogical the Senate Bill 260 is. And it is illogical because they think that this bill will prevent mass shootings. Well, there's 2 shootings that I previously mentioned that it would have not prevented anything. I had contacted Senator Skindell's constituent and asked him about the bill, and he said it was to prevent mass shootings. I then went to ask him, well, if you want to prevent vehicular manslaughter, should we ban motor vehicles? If you want to ban assaults, should we ban fists? If you want to ban speeding, should we ban all cars that have the capabilities of traveling at speeds above 70 miles per hour or moving at speeds above 70 miles per hour? Now, I hope most of you can see the analogy in that. Meaning, these politicians want to prevent mass shootings by passing a new piece of legislation. Well, if they want to prevent crime by passing new legislation, wouldn't you think that they will want to pass further legislation to prevent crimes such as vehicular manslaughter, speeding, assault, anything like that? Well, this constituent intentionally missed the point and nitpicked what I said, and then told me, and I quote, to stop comparing apples to oranges. And that baffled me, to say the very least. Anywho, that's the end of my rant. That's the end of my little discussion. Please like, share, and comment your thoughts on this. And share this video, please. I also implore the people of Ohio to contact Governor Kasich, Senator Skindell, and Senator Gardner. And please use logic and intelligence when you contact these people, because at the end of the day, the pen is always deadlier than the sword. And if that doesn't work, contact the president via the comment hotline, because Ohio is under siege, or has the potential to be under siege, by a tyrannical threat known as Governor Kasich, Senator Skindell, and Senator Gardner, for violating constitutional rights of the average law-abiding citizen and demonizing them for legally possessing and owning a firearm that they have not committed any act of violence with. And that infuriates me. But please, share this video and write whoever and make sure that this message is thoroughly spread. Thank you. Take care.